The compound buzzed with life as I pushed through the wooden gates. Women's voices rose in celebration, their colorful wrappers swishing as they danced around Olama's house. The bitter taste of unripe orange lingered in my mouth from the fruit I'd been chewing to calm my nerves. 5 sons now. The thought coiled around my chest, squeezing tight. The other wives had given Ekwe what I couldn't, what I hadn't, in 3 years of marriage. My feet dragged through the dusty earth as I approached the gathering. Ah, Amma, come, come. One of the village women grabbed my arm, pulling me into the circle. Our Olanma has brought another son. Inside the hut, Olanma reclined on her mat, glowing with pride as she cradled the tiny bundle. Her eyes met mine, bright with triumph. The baby's face, still wrinkled and new, peeked out from his wrappings. See how strong he is? Olanma adjusted the cloth around the baby's head, just like his father. I forced my lips into what I hoped looked like a smile. My hands clasped so tight my fingernails dug into my palms. My mother's words echoed in my head as I slipped away from the celebration. A woman's worth lies in her children. She had drummed into me since I first bled, her fingers working corn paste while I watched from our compound's cooking area. The path leading to the stream wound through familiar terrain, each step carrying me deeper into memories. Back then, I'd spent countless evenings here with my sisters, balancing water pots on our heads while trading stories of the husbands we'd have, the children we'd bear. My elder sister Choma had 4 now. Even Onyeka, younger by 2 harvests, carried her second. I sank onto a smooth rock by the water's edge, the same spot where Papa used to tell us tales of our ancestors. His voice, deep and rich like palm wine, painted pictures of brave women who built legacies through their bloodlines. Our family tree grows strong through its daughters, he'd say, his eyes twinkling as he looked at each of us in turn. The stream bubbled past, carrying leaves and twigs in its current. Just like those scattered pieces, my childhood dreams drifted away. Dreams woven during moonlit nights, when Mama taught us to pound yams and stir soup. Watch carefully, she'd instruct. Your husband's mother will judge your worth by how well you feed her son. I'd learned it all. The proper way to serve kola to visitors, how to grind peppers without letting the dust make you sneeze, the exact moment to flip the yam slices so they'd brown perfectly. Every lesson aimed toward one goal, becoming a wife and mother. At 25, Amma is a striking presence. Her light skin glows with a natural radiance, complementing her well-proportioned frame. Her oval face, framed by high cheekbones, draws immediate attention to her bright, expressive eyes that seem to dance when she speaks. When she smiles, she reveals a perfect set of white teeth that transform her entire countenance, making her laughter infectious to those around her. Her thick, well-maintained hair is always elegantly styled in a neat bun at the nape of her neck, sometimes adorned with traditional accessories that catch the light as she moves. Ama's grace is evident in every measured step she takes, her fluid movements suggesting an inner confidence that's impossible to miss. She carries herself with natural elegance and dignity, maintaining perfect posture, whether sitting or standing. Her presence commands attention without demanding it, and she moves through spaces with a composed, self-assured air that makes her both impressive and approachable. Her understated elegance in dress and demeanor completes the picture of a woman who knows her worth but wears it with grace. 3 harvests had passed since I became Ekwe's 3rd wife. 3 cycles of planting and reaping, of watching my co-wives' bellies swell while mine remained flat as a grinding stone. Each month brought fresh disappointment, sharp as cassava juice on cracked lips. The evening air cooled against my skin. Behind me, drums from the naming ceremony pulsed through the trees. Ekwe's 2nd wife had given birth to another son, her 4th child. The whole compound erupted in celebration, women's voices lifting in joy, men passing around palm wine. I'd smiled and danced, my wrapper swishing around my ankles. I'd presented my gift, the finest cloth I could trade for at the market. I'd cooked and served and played my part, just as custom demanded. But here, alone by the stream, my carefully constructed mask cracked. A twig snapped behind me. I wiped my face quickly, straightening my cloth. The celebrations continue without you, daughter. Old Mama Obi's voice, rough as dried corn husks, drifted over my shoulder. She'd been midwife to 3 generations of women in our village. The heat inside grew too much. She lowered herself beside me, her joints creaking. Heat can come from many sources, she said. The stream gurgled between us. A fish jumped, sending ripples across the water's surface. My mother bore 7 children, I said, watching the ripples fade. Her mother bore 9. What kind of daughter am I, who can't give her husband even a child? The forest doesn't judge a tree by its first season of fruit. Mama Obi's rough fingers found mine, or its second, or its third. When I was young, she cut in, there was a woman in the next village. 5 harvests she waited, then twins. The gods have their own time. The drums grew louder, celebration spilling through the trees. Someone called my name from the compound. They search for you, Mama Obi said, rising slowly. Come, show them your strength isn't measured by what your body hasn't done, but by what your spirit does each day. I walked back with Mama Obi, her steady presence beside me like a sturdy walking stick. The drums grew louder with each step, their rhythm matching the pounding in my chest. There you are. Ekwe's sister rushed toward us, her wrapper fluttering. We need more hands with the serving. The men have worked up an appetite with their dancing. Before I could respond, she grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the cooking area. Smoke from the fires drifted up into the darkening sky, carrying the rich scent of pepper soup and roasted yams. Where have you been hiding? Adana, the first wife, appeared at my elbow, balancing her sleeping baby against her shoulder. Here, help me with these bowls. At 40, Adana commands respect as Ekwe's first wife, her tall stature adding to her natural authority. Her dark complexion has maintained its luster over the years, complemented by the carefully chosen Ankara blouses and wrappers she wears, always ensuring the patterns and colors match perfectly. Her braided hair, styled with meticulous attention, frames a face that carries the quiet dignity of her position. When she moves through the compound, it's with the measured grace of someone who knows their place in the hierarchy of the household. Her soft-spoken nature belies her commanding presence. She doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard or respected. Her hands move with deliberate grace, whether she's adjusting her wrapper or giving instructions to the younger wives. Despite being 40, Adana carries herself with an elegance that hasn't diminished with age, and her tall frame stands straight and proud, making her appear almost regal in her bearing. Her facial features, though not striking, carry a serene expression that reflects her position as the matriarch of the family, and her eyes hold the wisdom of years spent managing a polygamous household. I took the stack of wooden bowls from her, grateful for the distraction of work. Around us, women moved in practiced patterns, ladling soup, breaking chunks of pounded yam, arranging meat on special plates for the elders. Your soup is better than mine, Adana whispered as we worked. The men always ask for seconds when you cook it. What good is cooking without children to feed? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Adana's hand stilled over the pot. Amma, stop with all these complaints. Ekwe's voice boomed across the compound. He stood with a group of men, his chest bare and gleaming with sweat from dancing. Bring palm wine for my friends. I set down the bowls and reached for the gourd of palm wine. As I approached the men, their laughter washed over me like waves. Your third wife moves like a gazelle, one of them called to Ekwe. such grace in her steps. But where are her children? Another voice, thick with wine, cut through the night. A gazelle without young is just meat for the lions. The palm wine gourd nearly slipped from my hands. Ekwe's laugh died in his throat. Watch your tongue, he growled. That's my wife you speak of. Peace, brother. The drunk man raised his hands. I meant no disrespect. The gods will bless her womb when they're ready. I poured their wine with steady hands, though my insides trembled like leaves in a storm. The cool liquid splashed against the cups, and I remembered Mama Obi's words by the stream. The gods have their own time. The soup smells ready, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Shall I bring you some? Ekwe's eyes met mine, something soft flickering in their depths. Yes, my dear, and make sure there's extra meat. You know how I like it. Ekwe at 45 cut an impressive figure with his tall, well-built frame that commands attention whenever he enters a room. His light-skinned complexion is striking, made more distinguished by his meticulously groomed beard that frames his face perfectly. Despite his clean-shaven head, which he often covers with a signature flat cap, he maintains a youthful appearance that makes him look younger than his years. His wardrobe choices reflect a man who pays attention to detail. His outfits are always carefully coordinated, whether he's wearing traditional attire or modern clothing. When he walks, it's with the confident stride of a successful man who has earned his position in society. His well-maintained physique suggests someone who takes pride in his appearance, and his presence carries the natural authority of a man who heads a polygamous household. His eyes hold a sharp intelligence, and when he speaks, his deep voice carries the measured tone of someone used to being listened to. There's an undeniable charisma about him that, combined with his physical attributes and careful grooming, makes it easy to understand why he has attracted 3 wives. His hands are well manicured, and his posture remains impeccable, whether he's sitting in discussion with his wives or standing to address family matters. I turned back toward the cooking fires, where Adanna waited with a steaming bowl. I added more uziza leaves, she murmured, the way our husband likes it. The night air filled with sounds of celebration, children's laughter, women's songs, the steady pulse of drums. I moved through it all like a fish through water, serving food, filling cups, playing my part in this familiar dance. Later, as the moon climbed higher and the fires burned low, I found myself beside Mama Obi again. She sat among the other old women, their voices soft as they shared ancient stories. Sit, daughter, she patted the ground beside her. Listen to how your grandmother's grandmother brought the first yam to our village. Some harvests take longer than others, but they come in their own time. I settled beside her, letting the night wrap around me like a well-worn wrapper. Perhaps my harvest would come with the next season, or the next. Until then, I had these moments, the warmth of the dying fire, the wisdom in old women's voices, and the strength that flowed through my veins like a steady stream. The morning after the celebration, I found Olanma in the courtyard, her new son strapped to her back, while she swept with sharp, aggressive strokes. Her eyes caught mine, and her lips curved into that smile I'd grown to dread. Did you hear? The Dibia says my boy will be a great man. She adjusted her wrapper. Such a blessing to give our husband a son after 3 daughters. The broom bristles scratched against the dirt. Each sweep felt like a reminder of my empty arms. That's wonderful news. I forced the words past the tightness in my throat. Ekwe must be proud. Oh, he is. Olanma's voice dripped like honey laced with bitter herbs. Last night, he promised to buy me new coral beads for the naming ceremony, said a mother of a son deserves special treatment. From the kitchen, the clatter of Adana's cooking pots provided a welcome interruption. The aroma of fresh herbs and palm oil drifted across the compound. Amma, Adana called out, could you help me with these vegetables? I hurried toward her voice, grateful for the escape. Inside the kitchen, Adana worked with quiet efficiency, her movements smooth and practiced. Don't let her words poison your heart, she murmured, handing me a knife and a pile of ugu leaves. Olanma's tongue has always been sharper than her wisdom. But she's right, isn't she? I started chopping, perhaps too forcefully. What use is a wife who can't give her husband children? You bring other gifts to this house. Adana's voice remained gentle. Your kindness, your cooking, the way you make Ekwe laugh. A commotion outside cut through our conversation. Ekwe's mother's voice rose above the usual morning sounds. Where is she? Where is this barren one who takes up space in my son's house? My hands trembled. The knife slipped, nicking my finger. A bright bead of blood welled up, red as the coral beads Olanma would soon wear. Stay here, Edana whispered, but I was already moving toward the doorway. Ekwe's mother stood in the courtyard, her wrapper tied high and tight for battle. Behind her, Olanma watched with barely concealed satisfaction. Mama, good morning. I bowed my head in greeting. Save your greetings. 2 years you have been in this house. 2 years of eating my son's food, sleeping in his bed, and what do you have to show for it? Mama, please. Please what? The whole village talks. They say my son married a ghost who cannot form children in her womb. Even the river goddess must be laughing at us. Each word landed like a stone. I felt the weight of eyes from neighboring compounds, heard the whispers that would spread through the village like wildfire. That's enough. Ekwe's voice cut through the tension. He emerged from his obi, face dark with anger. You will not speak to my wife this way. Your wife? His mother laughed. A woman becomes a wife when she bears children. Until then, she's just a guest in your house. I didn't wait to hear more. My feet carried me toward the back of the compound, past the goat pen, through the cassava patch. Behind me, voices rose and fell like waves threatening to pull me under. Through the cassava patch, their voices still reached me, carried on the morning breeze. Look what you've done now, Mama. Ekwe's deep voice rumbled with anger. Must you bring shame to our compound? Shame? I bring shame. His mother's voice cracked like thunder. That woman brings shame by failing to fulfill her duties as a wife. I pressed my back against the rough bark of a udala tree, my legs weak beneath me. The morning sun filtered through leaves, casting dappled shadows that danced across my feet. You overstep, Mama. Adana's usually soft voice carried unexpected steel. Amma has been nothing but respectful to you. Respect, Olanma cut in. Is it respect to take up space in a man's house without giving him children? Even the poorest farmer expects his seeds to bear fruit. The sound of Olanma's rapid footsteps could be heard approaching, then retreated. Then she spat. Watch your tongue, Olanma. Ekwe's warning carried across the compound. Or have you forgotten how long you waited for a son? But I gave you daughters first. Olanma's voice rose higher. What has she given you except empty promises? Empty like your head, Adana snapped, always quick to celebrate another's misfortune. A baby's cry pierced the air. Olanma's new son. The sound twisted in my gut like a knife. See? Even my baby knows. Olanma's triumphant tone dripped with malice. He cries because he knows his father's house, Habaza. Enough! Ekwe's shout silenced the compound. Mama, go home. Olanma, take your child inside. Adana, I'll find Amma, Adana said quietly. No. Ekwe's voice softened. Let her be. She needs time. Time? His mother scoffed. Time won't fill an empty womb. Send her back to her people before she brings more shame to this family. The only shame here is your behavior, Mama. Ekwe's words fell like stones in still water. Leave my compound. When you're ready to respect all my wives, then you may return. You would choose her over your own mother. I choose peace in my home. Go, Mama. Her footsteps scraped against dirt, followed by the creak of the compound gate. A baby's cry faded into the distance. Voices dropped to murmurs I could no longer distinguish. I slid down the tree trunk until I sat in the dirt, my wrapper bunched around my knees. Elisa darted past my feet, disappearing into the cassava leaves. How easy it would be to disappear, like that lizard, to slip away from the weight of expectations and whispered judgments. But I was not a lizard. I was Ama, daughter of my father, wife of Ekwe. Even as tears tracked down my cheeks, I remembered Mama Obi's words by the stream. Strength wasn't in hiding from pain, but in facing it. The sun climbed higher, burning away the morning mist. Soon, someone would come looking for me. Edanna, with her quiet comfort, or perhaps Ekwe himself. For now, though, I sat alone with my thoughts, watching shadows shift across the ground while voices from the compound gradually returned to their normal rhythms. From my hidden spot, memories flooded back of the day Ekwe brought me home. Olanma's face had been a mask of welcome, but her eyes told a different story. Welcome, co-wife. She'd arranged her wrapper just so, showing off the slight swell of her belly that would become her third daughter. Let me show you to your hut. At 30, Olanma presents a typical image of a traditional African woman, always dressed in vibrant Ankara blouses and wrappers that suit her practical nature. As a mother of four, her dark complexion has a healthy sheen, though her face bears subtle signs of the fatigue that comes with raising three daughters and a young son. Standing at average height, she moves with the unhurried confidence of a woman secure in her position as the second wife. Her hair is consistently styled in neat cornrows, a practical choice that requires little daily maintenance, allowing her to focus on her maternal duties. While not conventionally beautiful, Olanma's face carries a warm maternal expression that softens her otherwise plain features. Her hands, slightly rough from domestic work, are rarely still, whether they're adjusting her wrapper, tending to her children, or managing household tasks. She carries herself with the quiet dignity of a woman who finds her worth in her role as a mother rather than in physical appearances, and her presence in a room is marked more by her practical efficiency than by any attempt to draw attention to herself. The compound had buzzed with excitement that day. Ekwe's new wife, young and beautiful. I remembered how Olanma's hand had gripped my arm too tight as she led me around. This was my cooking spot, she'd said, gesturing to the best place near the kitchen where the morning sun hit just right. But I suppose you'll want it now. We can share, I'd started. Oh no, new wife must have everything new. Isn't that right? Her laugh had been sharp as broken pottery. Now, sitting on the small kitchen stool under the tree in our compound, I heard footsteps approaching through the cassava. Olanma's voice carried, speaking to someone else. Did you see how he defended her? Olanma's tone dripped with bitterness. Before she came, I was his morning star, his evening song. Now, he barely glances my way unless I'm holding his child. You have three children, Olanma, Adana's voice replied. What more do you want? What I want, Olanma's voice rose. I want things back the way they were before she came with her pretty face and her waggling waist, turning his head with sweet words and empty promises. I pressed closer to the tree, praying to disappear. They passed so close I could smell the palm oil on Olanma's wrapper. 3 years. 3 years and not even a miscarriage to show for it. At least I gave him daughters while I waited for his son. Careful, Olanma. Your joy sounds too much like spite. Spite? Olanma laughed. Maybe it is spite. You didn't see how he changed after she came. Suddenly my soup was too salty, my fish stew too spicy. Everything she touched was perfect. And now? Now? Another laugh, softer this time. Now, when he tastes my soup, he remembers why he married me. When he holds my children, he remembers what a real wife provides. Their voices faded as they moved toward the compound. I closed my eyes, remembering those early days, how Ekwe's face had lit up when I read his letters from his trading partners, how he had praised my education, my knowledge of numbers that helped his business grow. Your mind is sharp as a new cutlass, he'd said once while Olanma looked on. Lips pressed thin, but minds didn't feel cradles. Knowledge didn't quiet a crying baby. And now each month that passed without a swelling belly was a victory for Olanma, a sweet revenge served in sideways glances and whispered comments. The educated wife, she'd say it like a joke at the stream, where the other women would laugh behind their hands. So many books, but can't read the simple story her body tells her. I touched my flat belly, feeling the familiar ache of emptiness. Olanma had won after all. She had given Ekwe what I couldn't: children to carry his name, and a son to inherit his wealth. My education, my cooking, my love for Ekwe, none of it mattered against the weight of a newborn in his arms. The sun climbed higher, and with it came the sounds of the compound returning to life. Soon I would have to rise, dust off my wrapper, and face them all again. But for now, I sat with my pain, letting it wash over me like the stream where my father once told stories of stronger days. I caught my reflection in the water pot as I stood, my high cheekbones and smooth dark skin that drew stares at the market. People often mistook me for a city girl with my long neck and the way I carried myself. Even now, in my pain, my back remained straight, shoulders set with the pride my father had instilled. My wrapper, though simple, draped perfectly across my slim frame. Through the kitchen window, I watched Olanma waddle across the compound. She'd never quite lost the weight from her previous pregnancies, her hips wide and arms thick from bearing children. Her face bore the permanent scowl of someone who tasted power and feared losing it. When she walked, her feet slapped against the ground, announcing her presence like a drum beat. Ama? Adana's voice floated from behind me. I turned to find her tall frame filling the doorway, her light complexion catching the morning sun. I was just. My voice trailed off as I gestured to the forgotten yams I'd meant to peel. I heard them too. Adana moved into the kitchen, her movements fluid despite her height. Olanma speaks from fear, not truth. I touched my face, tracing the features that had first caught Ekwe's eye at the market 3 years ago. My mother's face, people said. The same full lips, the same eyes that tilted slightly at the corners. Beauty that had turned out to be both blessing and curse. Beauty fades, I murmured, but children remained. And yet here you stand, more beautiful than when you arrived. Adana picked up a yam, her fingers working the knife with practiced ease, while Olanma grows bitter with each passing moon. It was true. Where pregnancy had softened Olanma's features, spite had hardened them again. Her once pretty face had grown sharp, her mouth set in permanent lines of discontent. Even her victories seemed to age her, each child adding weight not just to her body, but to her spirit, as though motherhood was a weapon she wielded rather than a gift she cherished. Sometimes I catch Ekwe looking at you, Adana continued, her voice low, not with pity, as Olanma claims, but with the same wonder as the day he brought you home. Your beauty isn't just in your face, Ama. It's in how you move, how you speak, how you think. I remembered how the compound had fallen silent that first day, when Ekwe presented me to his family. Even Olanma had paused mid-sentence, her third pregnancy forgotten for a moment, as she took in my appearance. I'd worn my best wrapper then, my hair freshly plaited, my education evident in how I greeted the elders. But what good is beauty without? Stop! Adana's knife came down hard on the yam. Beauty without children is still beauty. Knowledge without children is still knowledge. And love. She paused, looking at me directly. Love without children is still love. But as I stood in the kitchen with Adana, My reflection caught again in the water pot. I saw what others saw, a beauty that transcended the simple measure of motherhood, even if I couldn't yet see it myself. The morning sun hadn't yet peeked over the compound walls when my stomach lurched. I stumbled from my sleeping mat to the corner of my hut, barely making it before my supper came up. Fourth morning in a row. The taste of bile lingered in my mouth as I splashed water on my face from the clay pot. My wrapper felt tight around my waist. Strange, since I'd barely kept food down these past few days. Even the smell of cooking yams from the kitchen made my head spin. I'd blamed bad fish from the market, but now, Amma! Adana's voice carried through the thin walls. The morning soup needs coming. I steadied myself against the mud wall, waiting for the dizziness to pass. When I opened my door, Adana's eyes widened. You look like a palm wine gourd, left in the sun too long. She reached for my forehead. Your skin's hot. I waved her hand away. It's nothing, just something I ate. For 4 mornings, she crossed her arms. I've watched you run from the kitchen every time Olanma's fish pepper soup boils. My heart skipped. I'd been counting market days since my last monthly flow, but feared hoping. 84 markets had passed since Olanma's son's naming ceremony. 6 moons of changing seasons. Don't. I cut off Adana's knowing look. Don't say it. I won't. But her smile spread like palm oil on hot soup. Though you might want to visit Mama Obi for your stomach troubles. The compound stirred to life around us. Women's voices rose from the communal kitchen. Children's feet pattered across packed earth. Olanma's sharp laugh cut through the morning air. She'd been especially loud since her son started learning to sit, as if his every move proved her worth anew. I pressed a hand to my belly, still flat, but somehow different, firmer. Or was that just wishful thinking? The soup! I moved toward the kitchen, but Adana blocked my path. I'll handle the morning meals. You go see Mama Obi. But what do I tell Ekwe? He will understand why his breakfast is late when he hears the reason. She shooed me toward the compound gate. Go, before the sun climbs higher. My feet carried me down the familiar path to Mama Obi's compound. The old midwife's hut sat apart from others, surrounded by her herb garden. The morning air hung heavy with medicine smells, bitter leaves and bark, flowers whose names only she knew. Mama Obi crouched among her plants, her white hair bright against her dark skin. She looked up as I approached, her eyes crinkling. Ah! She didn't seem surprised. The morning sickness brought you. How did you know? I asked. These old eyes see more than young ones think. She patted the ground beside her. Sit. Tell me how long. 4 mornings now. I sank down, my legs suddenly weak, but it could be bad fish. Or bad fish doesn't make a woman's wrapper tight at the waist. She reached for a handful of leaves, or put that glow in her eyes. Please, my voice cracked. Don't give me hope if... Hope? Mama Obi's laugh was gentle as morning mist. Child, I'm giving you facts. Now, chew these leaves. They'll settle your stomach until the little one decides to let you eat again. I took the leaves, their bitter taste flooding my mouth. 3 moons since Olama's son's ceremony. Now, perhaps, but I wouldn't speak it. Not yet. Some hopes were too precious for words. The compound buzzed with whispers when I returned. Women's eyes followed me, their conversations dropping to murmurs. Olanma stood by the kitchen tree, her son propped on her hip, her face twisted into something between a sneer and disbelief. So, she blocked my path. So, you visited the old witch. Mama Obi is a respected elder. I moved to step around her, but she shifted. Respected by barren women, maybe. Her voice carried across the yard, desperate for her magic leaves and false promises. My hand instinctively went to my belly. The bitter taste of Mama Obi's medicine still lingered on my tongue. Leave her be. Adana appeared beside me, a basket of yams balanced on her head. Don't you have your own duties to attend? Olanma's son began to fuss. She bounced him roughly. My duty is bearing sons. What's yours, Ama? Besides stealing my husband's attention with your market numbers and fancy writing. Ekwe values all his wives, I said, but my voice wavered. Values? She laughed. Is that what you tell yourself when you hear him in my hut at night, when my son calls him father? Enough. Adana set down her basket with a thud. Your jealousy speaks louder than your wisdom, Olanma. Jealousy? Olanma's voice rose. Of what? A woman who needs herbs and spells to get pregnant. Woman! Ekwe's deep voice cut through the morning air. He stood in the compound gateway, his eyes dark. You forget yourself. Olanma's face shifted instantly, softening into the smile she reserved for him. My husband, I heard what you were just doing. He crossed the yard. My mother's poison has touched your tongue, but she visits the witch. Mama Obi delivered you of that son you hold so proudly. His words fell like stones. Or have you forgotten the 3 days you labored, calling for her help? Olanma clutched her baby closer. That was different. I didn't need magic to conceive. I didn't need it. Go to your heart. Ekwe's voice left no room for argument until you remember how to speak to your co-wife with respect. Olanma's face flushed dark. She turned, her wrapper swishing, and stalked away, but not before I caught the tears in her eyes, not of shame, but of fury. My husband, I bowed my head. You needn't. I need to remind all my wives of their place. He touched my shoulder briefly, and of my choices. When he left, Adana squeezed my arm. See, he knows your worth. And Olanma knows how to make him regret it. I watched his back disappear into his obi. She won't forget this. Let her remember. Adana retrieved her yams. Let her remember while you grow round with child. Shh. I glanced around, but the yard had emptied. Don't speak it yet. The whole compound will gossip about it soon enough, she grinned, especially when your wrapper won't close. I touched my belly again, feeling the firm roundness beneath. 6 market weeks would tell the truth of it, and whispered curses. 6 weeks of hope and fear tangled together like cassava vines. But for now, I had Mama Obi's leaves, Adana's friendship, and Ekwe's quiet support. For now, that would have to be enough. From Olama's hut came the sound of breaking pottery and her son's startled wails. Her anger would find new ways to reach me, I knew. But for the first time in 3 years, I had something growing inside me stronger than fear. The moon marked our nights with Ekwe. Olanma took the first quarter, Adana the second, and I claimed the third. The last quarter belonged to his rest, though lately he'd spent those nights in his room, avoiding Olanma's endless complaints. Tonight was mine. I bathed in the stream, rubbed oil into my skin, and wrapped myself in the blue wrapper he'd given me last harvest season. My heart drummed against my ribs as I crossed the compound to his room. My husband! I knelt at his doorway, waiting for his invitation. Ama! His voice carried warmth. Come in. The familiar scent of tobacco and palm wine wrapped around me as I entered. He sat on his bed, his flat cap placed carefully on the low table beside him. You look different. He patted the space next to him. There's a glow about you. I settled beside him, careful to keep space between us. The evening sun is kind to everyone. His hand found mine in the dim light. It's more than that. His fingers traced up my arm, leaving trails of heat on my skin. You've been different these past days. Have I? My voice caught as his hand reached my shoulder. Yes. He drew me closer. You skip morning meals. You avoid Olanma's fish soup that you always praise. My pulse quickened. Trust Ekwe to notice what others missed. His hand moved to my waist, then paused at the slight swell of my belly. The wrapper had grown tighter there, though I tried to hide it. Then he lifted my chin, and the tears in my eyes rolled down my cheeks. Oh, my beautiful Ama. His voice dropped to a whisper. Ekwe. The word stuck in my throat. Mama Obi says, we must wait 6 market weeks to be certain. His hand spread across my belly, warm and protective. How many weeks have passed? 2. I covered his hand with mine. But the signs? Tell me. The morning sickness, the tightness here. I pressed his hand closer, the way certain foods turn my stomach. He was silent for so long I feared I'd spoken too soon, given voice to hopes Beata kept quiet. Then I felt his shoulders shake. My husband? I turned to face him. In the fading light, tears gleamed on his cheeks. After 3 years, he said, his voice rough, after all the whispers and cruel words you've endured. You're not angry? I went to Mama Obi. He pulled me into his arms. Angry? When she may have helped give us this blessing. His laugh rumbled through his chest. Let Olanma say what she will. Let them all talk. But it's too early to be certain. I am certain. He kissed my forehead. I see it in your eyes. Feel it beneath my hand. His palm returned to my belly. My child grows here. Our child, I whispered. Yes. He drew back, cupping my face. And when 6 market weeks have passed, we will announce it properly. Until then. His thumb brushed my cheek. This joy is ours alone. And Mama Obi's, I added, making him laugh again. And Mama Obi's, he agreed. Now come here, my wife. Let me hold you both. I melted into his embrace, feeling his heart beat strong and steady against my back, his hand protective over our secret. Outside, crickets sang their evening song, and somewhere in the compound, a child's laughter floated on the breeze. For the first time, that sound didn't bring pain, only promise. My wrapper no longer hid what grew beneath. Each morning, as I traced the curve of my belly, memories of those first uncertain weeks felt like a distant dream. Now I knew exactly how it felt to be pregnant. The compound had transformed. Whispers followed me, but they carried different words now. At the stream, women who once averted their eyes now smiled and offered advice. Take more rest. Adana's mother called from her washing spot. The baby needs it. And palm kernel soup, another woman added. It makes the child strong. Even the old women who'd clicked their tongues at my barrenness now stopped me to press dried herbs into my palm. For easy delivery, they'd say. Olanma's reaction cut deepest. When my condition became undeniable, she'd stormed from the compound, spending 3 days at her mother's home. Upon return, she'd taken to slamming cooking pots and muttering prayers that sounded more like curses. Don't mind her, Adana said one morning as we prepared breakfast. She thought she'd always have that power over you. I stirred the pot of yam porridge, watching steam rise. I never wanted power, just a child. Yes, a child of your own. Adana squeezed my shoulder. And now look at you. You're glowing like the harvest moon. The sound of approaching footsteps made us both turn. Ekwe's mother stood in the doorway, her wrapper pulled tight around her substantial frame. My hands trembled on the wooden spoon. So, she stepped into the kitchen. The stories are true. I straightened my back, remembering how Ekwe had banished her months ago. Yes, Mama. She circled me slowly, her eyes fixed on my swollen belly. The kitchen fell silent, save for the bubbling pot. 5 moons? Her voice carried an edge I couldn't read. Yes, Mama. She reached out suddenly, pressing her palm against my belly. I held my breath, waiting for harsh words. Instead, her face softened as the baby kicked against her hand. Ah! A smile cracked her stern expression. Strong, like its father. She withdrew her hand and cleared her throat. Well then, you'll need proper care now. None of this standing over hot pots all day. Adana's mouth fell open. I gripped the cooking spoon tighter to steady myself. I'll send my sister's daughter to help. Ekwe's mother continued. She knows the old ways, the proper herbs for a healthy child. She adjusted her wrapper. And tell my son, tell him I bring palm wine next market day for proper celebrations. She turned and left as abruptly as she'd arrived. Adana and I stared at each other in stunned silence. Did that just happen? Adana whispered. A laugh bubbled up from my chest, surprising us both. I think it did. Later that evening, as Ekwe and I sat in his obi, I told him about his mother's visit. His hand, as always these days, rested protectively on my belly. So she's finally remembered her place, he said, but his voice held no anger. Good. A child should know all its grandmothers. I have forgiven her. Even Olanma might come around, I said, though I didn't quite believe it. Ekwe's laugh rumbled through his chest. Let her sulk. This child will be loved enough without her. As if in agreement, the baby kicked, making us both smile. Outside, the compound settled into evening rhythms, women calling children home, the smell of cooking fires, distant laughter. For the first time since becoming Ekwe's wife, I felt truly part of it all. Pain ripped through me like lightning splitting a tree. Sweat pooled beneath my back on the woven mat as Mama Obi pressed cool cloths to my forehead. The contractions had started at dawn, each wave stronger than the last. Push, child, Mama Obi commanded. Your baby is ready to meet the world. Adana gripped my hand, letting me squeeze until my knuckles went white. Outside the birthing hut, I heard Ekwe's footsteps pacing, back and forth, back and forth. The head comes, Mama Obi announced. One more push. I bore down, feeling my body split open. A cry pierced the air, strong, angry, alive. My son. Tears streamed down my face as Mama Obi lifted him, showing me his perfect scrunched face before passing him to Adana for cleaning. But the pain didn't stop. If anything, it intensified. Mama Obi's hands pressed against my belly, her expression shifting from satisfaction to surprise. Ah, the gods are generous today. She turned to Adana. Quick, bring more cloths. There's another. Another? My voice cracked. Twins! Adana's joy filled the small space as she handed my firstborn to her helper and returned to my side. Beyond the hut's walls, Ekwe's pacing stopped. Twins! His voice carried through the thatch. Stay outside, Mama Obi shouted. Men have no place in birthing matters. Fresh pain gripped me. This second birth came faster, my body already knowing the way. Within moments, another cry joined his brother's. Two sons, Mama Obi declared, pride coating her words. Strong boys, both of them. Adana helped prop me up as Mama Obi placed my sons in my arms. They were beautiful, identical faces, fingers like tiny yam shoots, skin dark and perfect and handsome. One opened his eyes, regarding me with a gaze that seemed too wise for his few moments of life. Let him in now, I whispered, and Adana moved to the door. Ekwe entered slowly, his cap clutched in his hands. He stood frozen, staring at the three of us on the mat. I'd never seen him speechless before. Two sons, he breathed, two sons at once. He dropped to his knees beside us, reaching out to touch each tiny face with trembling fingers. The gods have blessed us twice over, I said. Ekwe's eyes shone with tears. No, my Ama, you have blessed us. He pressed his forehead to mine. 3 years of patience, and now this gift. Adana appeared with clean clothes and water, her own cheeks wet. They'll need names. Kelenna, I said, looking at my firstborn. And this one? I touched his brother's cheek. Obieze, Ekwe finished. Strong names for strong sons. Outside, word spread quickly. Women's voices raised in celebration, their ululations carrying across the compound. Even through my exhaustion, I heard Ekwe's mother's voice among them, leading the songs of praise. Mama Obi shooed everyone out, except Adana, who helped clean and settle us. As she worked, she hummed the old lullabies our mothers had sung to us. Two sons, she said, smiling. Now watch how quickly Olanma finds reason to visit. I laughed softly, though it hurt. My focus remained on my boys, on their perfect fingers and toes, on the miracle of their identical faces. 3 years of empty arms had led to this moment, this double blessing. Kalena and Obieze sighed in unison, settling against my chest as if they'd never been anywhere else.